this is, of course, as I said, the Christmas special, as I've posted on Twitter. I'm sorry about the shirt. It's the best I could do. Actually, it's Sri Lankan, but I bought it at Christmas time in Sri Lanka, so I guess it counts. My other Christmas jumpers have been eaten by moths, as I'm sure everyone else's have.
I thought it looked a little bit Rio, Simon. It looks
a bit Rio. Well, there is a reason for it that you saying that, because as many of you will know, we have got a lady live from Brazil, not Rio itself, but near to Rio. Well, let's find out how far away you are in a second. So we've got tonight two guests from the women's game on very much different sides of the world. Roberta Avery, the captain of the Brazilian women's side, and Sophia Dunkley, who has been playing really well for England recently and is in the Ashes squad that heads out to Australia to hopefully win the Ashes for the women shortly after we've lost the Ashes with the men. So welcome both of you, ladies, Roberta Moretti Avery and Sophia Dunkley. Welcome to the world's best cricket club. And that's a bit of applause for your attendance. And we've got Noughts here as well. Simon Mann is at the moment in isolation in Adelaide, and he might pop up at some point. I don't know, but he's sort of lying low. He's lying low for the moment.
It's 6 a.m. in Adelaide.
Yes,
right now.
so he'll be asleep at the moment. He might turn up later. And we've got a couple of little surprises for you at some point also tonight. Chris Broad is coming on later, and we have a special guest that hopefully will join him at some point when Chris has arrived. Anyway, let's get on with the ladies first. So Roberta, welcome to our little club. How far are you? So you're in Poços de Caldas. Is that the correct pronunciation?
Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here with you. I'm based in Poços de Caldas, which is about 300 kilometers away from São Paulo. For Brazil, that is very close. I know that for England, you can almost drive to Scotland, but for us, considering the size of the country, it's just a drive very close to.
And you're quite famous, actually, aren't you? Not only for your captaincy of Brazil, but also your ability is. I mean, you've invented a new shot, haven't you? I tried to find a bit of it. Obviously, wasn't very successful. But tell us about your shot that you've posted on Instagram or whatever.
Well, starting from the beginning, we didn't really have cricket spread in Brazil when we started playing. So we kind of didn't know what the traditional shots would be. We didn't have access to the games. We couldn't see international games being played. So we just played how we felt it was correct. And also our bowlers did not bowl too straight, so we had a lot of leg wides. And why not hit those shots? So the Brazilian shot came from the intent of hitting a wide on the leg, because, well, why not? We didn't know it was not reasonable. We ended up developing it a little bit more, and now we can actually hit it quite well. So it's a ball that's going down leg. You just hit a powerful long on or long off, depending on how you talk about it. And so the Brazilian shot came about. When we posted on Twitter, it got quite famous, but it has been done in Brazil since 2007, 2009. It was mostly because we didn't know what the traditional shots were.
Oh, Simon's is muting.
I don't know. My computer played up there. You've got some trophies behind you. So tell us about those.
These are the South American Championships. Brazil has won 4 of the past 5 South American Championships, and we have some National League tournament as well, and also the latest, the ICC World Cup qualifiers in Mexico that happened this year, where I won Best Fielder. So I like to keep the Brazilian shirt and the trophies over there to remind what we are aiming for.
Excellent. Well, we'll come to your successful defence or performances in that trophy in a bit. Let's introduce Sophia, who is a recent announcee in the England Ashes squad to tour Australia after Christmas. Sophia, where are you now?
I am in Loughborough currently. We've got our last training camp before Christmas, so we're here for the 2 days. In my room, having room service and stuff, because obviously COVID's gone through the roof in the last few weeks, so got to be really careful before we go to Oz. But yeah, in Loughborough, ready to train.
How is it affecting you, the COVID situation with the training and stuff? Do you have to have particular isolation and so on?
Yeah, so we're at training, just got a lot of protocols to follow and distancing, and it's very well thought out by our kind of medical team, and not really mixing it at night time or socialising, just got to stay in our rooms and stuff, which a little bit antisocial, but obviously for a good cause. And then over Christmas, just try and get our families to be as safe as possible, because Australia obviously being quite strict at the minute with their letting people in and their kind of rules. So yeah, just trying to be as safe as possible before that, because obviously we want to get on the flight.
You've had a great summer. You sort of broke into the England side and obviously performed well. How's your experience of that been, and what do you put your development, you've really developed in the last year or two, what do you put that down to, your advance?
Yeah, I think last summer I loved being part of the England team and playing in all different formats, especially the test match. It doesn't come around very often in women's cricket, so to have that experience was amazing. And I think for me, growing up and a couple of years ago, I was really kind of panicked about selection and things, and it always used to get in my mind. And I think since I started just trying to take each game as it comes and staying in the moment with that kind of stuff, it really helped mentally and enabled me to focus on each game. And I think our performance has just kind of kicked on since then, because I was just kind of enjoying the moment and not worrying about too much in the future. So yeah, that's definitely really helped. And I've been around a lot of world-class players, especially in the 100 and in our England team as well. So yeah, I've got a wealth of experience around me. So I'm always asking questions and seeing what the other girls do, which is really good.
Oh, well, tell us a bit more about the colleagues in a minute. Have you ever played cricket against anybody from Brazil, female or male?
I don't think I have, actually, but a trip to Brazil, that would be great. I'd love that.
When's that going to happen, Roberta? If you think, England women touring Brazil. I mean, what a brilliant opportunity that would be. Amazing story, actually. You're now, I think, 28th Brazil in the World T20 rankings, the international rankings, which is amazing. You're actually, I think, one place below the US. So it's tremendous. And how long have you been playing as an international team?
Well, first of all, would love to one day play with the English team. That would be such a big, these guys are role model for us. We have been playing since 2007. It was a small development project in the capital of Brazil, Brasilia. But the community project started in Brazil in 2009. And again, because cricket's not a traditional sport here in Brazil, in the schools when we started developing the grassroots programs, cricket was for all. It was not a male predominant sport. So our participation for girls is very high. We have 50% in the projects. Now we have about 5,000 kids playing weekly, and is 50% girls, 50% boys. So the national team has with the project in increasing participation and becoming better technically, the national team also became stronger. So the last time we took part in the ICC tournament was in 2011. We weren't even in the rankings. We didn't have the T20 international status yet. And when we were back in the international status in 2018, we quickly raised 28th. And hopefully in the next 5 years, our aim is to get in the top 20 and start playing more ICC tournaments and T20 and also ODI.
What do you put the development and the interest in cricket down to? I mean, why it doesn't sound like the kind of, obviously we all know Brazil for football. Why has cricket caught on in those places, do you think?
I guess cricket has, first I would think is why not? Cricket is a fun sport, quick sport. When we introduce into schools, it's all about the fun and the inclusiveness of cricket. And the kids just love sports in Brazil. We just have sunshine 12 years around. We have a lot of space. So just I think the values that we perpetuate here in Brazil, like the respect, the integrity, and everything that comes with cricket, with the fun side and the inclusion side, it was a perfect combination. So we get kids that possibly would play football, but not every kid, everyone loves football, but not every kid would play football well. So they could play other sports well, and cricket is one of them that has been offered. And also we have a street game here, it's called Betty, which relates to bat in English, that is very similar to cricket and brings a lot of childhood memories, because it was like that fun game that we play in the street. It's like a two-a-side cricket that is played with a tennis ball. So I guess it's just the way that it's set up, and how Brazilians love sports, and just the way cricket is so good to play.
So what is the game called? Did you say Batsy?
Bets is like a bat, but pronounced with a different sound, but it's bet. Okay. The two-a-side cricket. It's quite fun.
Amazing. But you actually were originally a golfer, weren't you? So you came to cricket quite late, I think. Is that right? Yes,
that is right. I always competed golf. I was a high performance golfer when I got in contact with cricket. And when I joined cricket, soon I realized that I love the collective aspect of cricket, to be part of a team, to be part of a group, to grow as a team, to help each other out. And in golf, I didn't have that. Golf is an individual sport. So I played for Brazil in 2017-18 in golf. And after that, I decided to retire and focus on cricket. I started playing cricket when I was 28.
Wow, you've advanced very quickly then. Sophia, what about your origins in cricket? How did you start?
I started actually, so my next door neighbour, I used to be really good friends with a boy called Zach, and we used to live on a cul-de-sac, and he was my next door neighbour, and we used to just kind of play outside in a little cul-de-sac and in the back garden, and I just loved it, and he kind of taught me what to do and all those kind of things. And then I joined a boys club with him after that, and went on to play for Finchley Cricket Club, which is my first kind of girls club. And that's kind of where I discovered first that girls actually played cricket, and there's a whole other world that I was introduced to. And then kind of developed to play for Middlesex from there. So yeah, it was nice to find that a lot of other girls played cricket too, because I used to play with the boys quite a lot growing up.
What was the school that you played at first then? Or club, with the boy?
Oh, with the boy. It's called Wilf Slack.
Oh, Wilf Slack, yeah.
Yeah, named after a cricketer, and it was just down the road from Finchley. So yeah, it was fun. I really enjoyed playing with the boys, but I didn't know anything different at that point. And then went on to join Finchley, which is kind of where as well Middlesex was based, and yeah, it kind of started quite nicely from there.
So actually, I suppose you were lucky in a way. You were living near one of the sort of centres of women's cricket, or one of the centres to become a fairly centre for women's cricket. And who was your idol then? I mean, who did you sort of look up to?
I suppose when I first started cricket, and when I was about 10, 11, I didn't really know too much about the women's game and stuff, men's game, but I did have Beth Morgan, who was coaching at Middlesex and Finchley at the time, who played for England quite a while, and she's a great person, really good coach, great team player, and it was amazing for me to then go on and play with her in the senior team for Middlesex as well, and she's still a good friend of mine. So yeah, she was one of the standout people, and I think when I grew up, I used to love Joe Root as well when he kind of first started out in his career, and I remember watching him at Lords in a test match, getting his first 100, and yeah, so I think a couple of role models there, but Beth Morgan definitely stands out for me.
Actually, in both of those players, I think both are quite similar in that they're busy players. They're quite agile at the crease. They get down the pitch. They use their feet. They're kind of dancey feet players, which I think you are as well. So I can sort of see elements of both Root and Morgan in your cricket. Yeah,
definitely. I think that one of the things I love about them is, like you say, the way they play. And for me, I'm definitely kind of more on the aggressive side of the cricketer and wanting to do things and get things going and bring a bit of energy. So yeah, definitely. If I can play any bits a little bit like them, it would be great for me.
Now, can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
I want to talk about two particular games that have happened this year, right?
Yeah.
One tweet. So I'm going to start with you, Sophia, because chronologically your game comes first. I'd like to talk about your Test match debut this year, in the coldest June in the history of humanity in Bristol. right? I actually was managed that very tiny crowd of God. What was that like playing in that first test against India in that weather? And I remember the day I was there. I think I seem to remember you coming on do a bit of leg spin. Did I see it?
Yeah, a little over.
It didn't feel like the weather. A bit like Leach bowling at Brisbane. It didn't feel like the weather for that sort of bowling. But... So tell us about that. Tell us about your test debut in Bristol.
Yeah, so I think especially in the women's game, test matches, if you don't come around as very often, it's normally kind of every time we have the Ashes, which obviously every 2 years. So to have this kind of standalone test with the India series was everyone's really excited for. And I hadn't really played very much red ball cricket at all, bar probably 3 or 4 warm-up games in my whole entire life. So playing an actual test match, I was almost effectively learning on the job, I guess. And yeah, to know that I was in the squad was amazing, and it was a great experience to kind of adapt to that format of cricket. And I think learning about it as I was playing and kind of realizing that it wasn't too different from kind of white ball and ODI cricket, but the subtle changes that I had to make. And yeah, I think the team was really helpful in that. All the older girls who have played a few test matches before, because they shared all their knowledge with me and little tips and things they used to think about, which really helped. And we had some good kind of team goals and how many runs we wanted to get and all those kind of things, which really helped. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. And yeah, I'm just so grateful that I got that opportunity this summer.
That was a good game. It was a good game. That sounded Bruce Forsyth, didn't I? Good game. It was a fine old game, but it was a draw, right? Good watching for the days there. I did notice when I was there on the day I was there in Bristol, because I don't know if the crowd who were there got really excited that match in Tendulkar, the guy from
oh yeah,
he was there, and that got everybody excited like a pop star. It's like, this is just a bloke who's a shoe salesman. How come they're so excited about it? Anyway, that was a great game, right? But I'm just going to ask you: have you ever played in your cricket career so far? Have you ever played in a game where you feel that it's all over, you've got no chance of winning, and somehow you turn it around? Is there a game that comes to mind? Because I'm thinking, whatever you think, it can be surpassed, as you will find out. What is your most unlikely victory from the jaws of defeat, would you say?
Oh, I'm going to have to think about that one.
Well, I'll give you a moment.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely think we had one of those games in Middlesex where we skittled someone out for 80 or something when we thought we were, never going to get there. But nothing springs to mind.
Well, we're going to tell you about a game now. I'm going to let Roberta tell you about it. The events.
Can't wait.
The date of the 25th of October, 2021, in a qualifier between Canada and Brazil. I will just set up the scene. Imagine this, right? It's a T20 game that's been rain affected, 17 overs. Brazil have managed to score 48 for 7 in their 17 overs. And with 1 over to go, Canada are 46 for 5, right? Who's going to win that game? I'll hand over to Roberta at that point. Oh, disputed. No, you're not. You can speak, Roberta.
Well, I can tell. Like I said before, just to think about that date and you giving those numbers, my heart already starts to pound, like the date. But coming back to that 46 for 5 with 1 over to go, I still believed on that moment that we were able to win it. I have one bowler. Her name is Laura Cardoso. She's 16 years old. She's a very fierce girl. And I looked at the ground in the end of the 16th over with 2 runs to defend to win the 2nd place in the tournament. And I looked at her and she was like staring at me with these big green eyes, like, give me the ball. I held the ball, I grabbed the ball, went over there, walked to the bowling line and gave the ball to her and said, if I had 2 runs to defend, you would be my bowler. Go and have some fun. And this girl just created history. She had dot, run out, wicket, 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 run out, and we won the game on the last over. With 1 run to spare, it was possibly the best game of our lives, a moment that we will never forget. And I still brings me so many chills, and it was one of the best moments of my life for sure, and definitely the best moments in my cricket career. at this moment. So amazing day.
Well, hopefully you can see, because I have the scorecard on screen. Can everybody see the scorecard there?
Yeah.
So let's have a little looky of this, right? I brought it up. So here's the Brazilian innings, right? 48 for 7. Bit of a tricky track there. And you're thinking, well, but let's have a little
one
look.
for Roberta, by the way.
Look,
got half the runs. Yeah.
Yes. 21 out of 48. That's a pretty good effort, all told, isn't it? So let's go down to the Canada innings, right? Before we get to, so there we go. So there's the sort of top end. Old Winder Gill there, putting a brave 19, 46 of 5. It's just one swish of the bat, isn't it? But then look at that carnage. It looks like an England men's team collapse, doesn't it? There we go. And so it goes. I like this bit here on the fall of wickets. 6 for 46, 7 for 46, 8 for 46, 9 for 46, and then run out going for that second run. So just out of my interest, can you just talk us through that maybe when they were facing the 3 wickets that fell, were the Canadians having a swish, or were they trying to what were they doing as sort of panic and concern set in that they couldn't get there? What sort of shots did they play?
They were trying to play it to mid off. They were trying to play it straight. This bowler, she bowls outswingers, and she was bowling these amazing Yorkers. It was just unbelievable. The first run out, it was a great fielding. They tried to put it on the leg side. Our short leg just got it and got a great run out. Our wicketkeeper was having a great match. The player that was facing the next ball had actually been dropped twice. She was the one who scored 19 runs. She was dropped on over 15 and 16. So I was already like, come on, give me a break. Give me a break. Let's get in. When we had the first wicket, the run out, and then the first wicket, we were like, come on, let's keep it focused. But you can see when a person is in the zone. You can see when the person is being too fierce for the moment. And the bowler was in that moment. She was not going to let it go away. You can see the videos on Twitter, the internet, how passionate she was on that single moment. When the second wicket happened, we had a new bowler. We knew that we had to keep the pressure. The third wicket, she tried to swing it and edged for me. That was on point. We knew that we could do it. So when they had to score 2 runs, we defended the areas that we needed to, and we knew their plan. The plan was to try to push for the second run somewhere where the boundary fielder was, and our fielders were very calm. The keeper was very good. It was a moment like the World Cup final, 2019 World Cup final with Joe Butler. We had a Brazilian one, and it was unbelievable.
Of course, if in the England men defending that, someone said it, so I'm going to repeat it. He's never going to come on this club now, Simon. We'd have had Tom Curran bowling that last over, and it would have gone for 6, wouldn't it? Thanks. Good. What shot would you have played, Sophia? In that situation, you're going out the bat, you need 2 runs. What are you going to do?
I'd try to send it back over their heads as far as I can.
Just for a moment, I didn't want Sophia to be on that last over with me, please. I don't want to be bowling at her on that last over.
Was it filmed, that game?
Yeah, yes. We've got it on the chat. Actually, it's on the YouTube.
Oh, right.
There's a YouTube link for it.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, I must have a look at that.
We have the whole last over recorded, and also we have a comparison with the 2019 World Cup. So both games are on the internet quite easily.
Just quickly, let's get Alistair in a minute as well, who I know is probably sitting back, but we've got some of your other, I think 1 or 2 of your other teammates are probably on this call as well. Just tell us quickly, Roberto, finally, well, not finally, but from me anyway, what do your friends who don't like cricket think about your life now? Are they intrigued? Are they confused? Are they baffled? I mean, what's the sort of feeling amongst your closest friends, your kind of colleagues, etc., generally about the fact that you're the captain of the Brazilian women's team?
That's a very good question. Because 4 years ago, when I said that I was an athlete, I was a cricket athlete, I was playing cricket, I was spending most of my holidays traveling for cricket, most of my afternoons training for cricket, they would always say that maybe I was a little bit too crazy to be on that hobby, because cricket was not considered a professional sport. We were just playing for fun and for the love of the country. In 2020, when it became centrally contract, everything changed, because I think that's when we got centrally contracted, I think that's when my friends, my family realized how big of a deal it was. It's not only a hobby, that's what we do for a living. We play cricket for Brazil, we train cricket for Brazil. So it's not that crazy anymore, it's my job. So everything I do is, I think cricket 24/7. They know I think cricket 24/7. And one thing that was very good, the ICC World Cup qualifiers were the first tournament that we played that was broadcasted and that our friends and family could watch. So when I came back from the tournament, I went for my family dinner, and they started talking about the tournament. And my mom was teaching my aunt what was a catch, what was a boundary. My nephew was talking about the shots, and they were talking about fielding. And I look at them, and for the first time in 8 years that I have been playing, they were talking cricket without me pushing cricket. They were talking cricket because they were able to watch it and understand it. Cricket was accessible for them at that moment, and made me get very emotional, because first of all, I thought, man, who are the guys? Who are you? What did you have done to my family? But then made me very emotional, because they finally were able to see what we do and what we play. And they saw the passion that we have playing cricket, and they were able to have the same passion by watching us. So making cricket accessible for them to watch was a big deal, and makes them understand us a lot more now.
It's an amazing story. Alistair, I know you're on, and you don't want to sort of pipe up too much, but tell us where it's going, because your company got involved in promoting Brazilian women's cricket as one of your clients. I mean, where have you got to, and where do you see this story unfolding to next? Could the men be equal in time? Could the women really, could it take off in other parts of Brazil? How do you see the future?
I think definitely it can take off in other parts of Brazil, but the strategy so far has been deliberately to focus it in a smaller city rather than starting in a sort of huge metropolis like Sao Paulo, where it might get lost. Where Roberta's from, more kids actually play cricket than play football now. And the mayor of the city begins every speech saying that. And, it's one of the reasons it's taken off is that it's not sort of expats or, gringos, as we'd call them here, teaching the sport, because, my reality as an Englishman or anybody else's here is not the same as the reality of a Brazilian. It's actually Brazilian coaches now who are qualified coaches. They've been put through university by the Cricket Brazil project, many times the first people in their family ever to get to university, and they're fully employed doing that. That's what's made the difference. And now that kind of reality, the guys in the street can think, oh God, I used to go to school with that guy. Look at him now. He looks really cool. He's got a passport. He's off playing cricket, And I think that can be replicated. And there's plans to take the project into another load of neighboring cities, which should take participation up from about 5,000 a week to 35,000 a week. But it's got to be staggered growth, because what we don't want to do is create a demand that can't be satisfied with kit, with coaches, because you've only got one opportunity to make a good first impression with this. But I mean, the project's always had two goals. One is to sort of encourage the elite level where Roberta's at, and the women's team comparatively is the best team by some distance. But the men's team is coming up behind it. There was the national tournaments played in Rio last week, and a team of 18-year-old Brazilian kids, completely Brazilian, only learned the game in Brazil, won against one of the other teams that was just made up of expats, a T20 match by a margin of about 120 runs. One of the kids smashed 135 not out, 60 balls. These are seriously good cricketers. And there's no doubt over time, and particularly as the catchment grows, I think that you'll see improvement. And Brazilians are just naturally competitive and great athletes anyway. But in terms of what we want to see from the national side, I mean, we want Brazil to be the next Thailand. We want Brazil to, and we want a Brazilian player playing in franchise cricket. And I think somebody like Laura, who Roberta mentioned, could very well be that person. So from our point of view as a company, I mean, I'm an Englishman. I moved out here 8 years ago, but we just saw not only the kind, I mean, I obviously love cricket, but we saw this, the social impact it's having in that community as well. The education system here means that kids are left alone for half the day while parents are out working, and that's normally when bad influences come along and bad things can happen. Where kids in Poços de Caldas now are all involved in cricket, and I think it's one of the reasons the mayor loves it so much. We really wanted to get behind it and sort of offer our support in that way. But we're also just genuinely inspired. We're fans. England is my number one team, but Brazil's definitely my number two.
Hey, talking of England, Simon. Talking of England, I'm going to have to bring up the subject, especially with Sophia here. We got to mention, not the current Ashes. We can still come back, can't we? It's happened once, hasn't it? Once, the comeback. But of course,
not by England.
No, not by England. Well, that's even all the more reason. But in terms of, but you, Sophia, right? You're going there. We want you to bring them home, right? Because they're men in. But we want you to bring them home. How are you going to do that? Oh, she's on mute. She's on mute. I guess I'll ask her on mute. She muted herself there. You've got to hit your button, Sophia.
What was that? Am I going to bring them home?
How are you going to? You are going to
bring them home. That is true. How? I think I feel like this time we've played some really good cricket as a squad, and I think to beat a team like Australia, who are obviously very skilled and very successful, I think we just need to kind of be brave and kind of bring it to them and put up a good fight. But I think, you know, we've got quite a few young new players coming into the squad and exciting talents like Maya Boucher, who's come in, and Charlie Dean, and I think they're really kind of challenging each other for places, especially with the A team coming with us as well, which is such an exciting step in the game. And I know a lot of the girls in that team are incredibly excited to have the opportunity to kind of have their own series against Australia A, whilst also kind of supporting us in the warm-ups as well. So I think, you know, there's about a pool of 30 players now, and it's such an exciting time for the game. So yeah, I think, and you know, the things we had last summer, the 100 and all those kind of things, were such a massive part of that. And I think in England, cricket in 2021 has really taken off, which is great for us. So yeah, I feel like we're in a really good position to go and get those ashes back.
Is there a talk, a chat amongst coaches and, you know, experienced players that the pitches in Australia are different for women as well as for them? Obviously, it's a big talking point when men go and play in Australia because the pitches are different. Are they different for women? And have you experienced playing out there?
No, personally, I've never been to Australia before. So yeah, for me in the winter this year, I've been doing kind of specific things for those kind of conditions. Obviously, a lot of the girls have been out there loads of time before, but for us, it's definitely, you know, the bounce and the quickness of the pitches is still kind of applicable to us, and it's how we have to kind of slightly adapt our technique to deal with that. And for me, it will be, as soon as I get there, getting used to those kind of conditions straight away, because it's something I've not experienced before. But I think in a way it kind of is quite good to kind of bat indoors, because it kind of, you can get the bounce and a bit quicker in there. But yeah, I think it's just getting there and adapting quickly and using the things I've worked on. But it definitely does play a factor in the way that we prepare, for sure.
Interesting. Should we have some questions from the men?
Yeah, people want to put their hands up.
People want to put their hand up and ask the girls.
I will say, Sophia, while we're waiting to put their hand up, you are technically playing against a distant relative of mine in the Australian cricket. Yeah, Alicia Healy is kind of related to me.
Really?
She is by marriage through my cousin. But yeah, it's kind of like, because she's like the niece of Ian Healy, isn't she?
Yeah.
Since Ian Healy is definitely related to me by that man, she must also be. Is she not married? She's married to. Isn't she married to
Mitchell Stark?
Yeah, Mitchell Stark. So does that make Mitchell Stark? I don't know. Anyway,
related to you? Oh my god!
Does that mean who's that? Does that mean you're supporting Australia then, or?
Well, I do have Australian citizenship, so I must say that. But I do know that I was there once during the Ashes, and I was definitely on the England side of the fence when it came.
Well, good to hear.
So do not worry about that. Right, I'm going to bring in Rob a second, who's looking very festive. He got the email. He got the email, and he got the jumper. He's got the jumper. So awesome. I'm going to...
Evening, ladies. How you doing?
Hi.
Well, thank you so much for sort of joining us and making this an extra special Christmas fanfare. I've got a question for you both. It's the same question. So, you know, fight it out amongst yourselves who wants to answer first. But what was the first match you ever saw which made you think, oh, I really want to do this?
I think, yeah, I can go. For me, I can't exactly remember what exact year it is. It must have been 2013 or 2015 when the England girls won the Ashes at home, and they had their like red England kit on. And I remember like watching the last over, and they were all like running onto the pitch and celebrating, excited. And I was like, oh, that looks amazing. Like, I want to do that. And I think for me, it was just watching like how kind of pleased they were to win and their celebrations. And I think I love kind of the team aspect of the game, and being able to like celebrate wins together and celebrate the game together. So for me, that was definitely a turning point.
So before that match, had you started playing regularly, or were you just like casually watching and then all of a sudden went, oh, I want to give that a go, sort of thing?
I might have just started being on like an under 15 kind of England program, but kind of before I ever got on that, it was never in my mind. But I was thinking, oh, that'd be cool to play for England, but I never thought it would kind of be me that was going to do it or be anywhere near it. So I think watching that kind of game really kind of sparked something in me, and I loved it. I loved watching it.
Cool, thank you.
I guess for me, I joined my husband in the men's tournament in 2011, and I remember the environment. It was a very good environment. I was just watching, not playing. I didn't even know what cricket was at the time properly. But I remember people having a lot of fun, the tour being a lot of fun. And the same thing happened 2 years afterwards in 2013. So I guess that didn't make me want to be like part of the national team or anything, but made me want to play cricket, to be part of that environment, to be part of the fun side of it. And I guess I got involved into cricket because of the fun side, and then the performance and everything else came. So I guess it was being part of the men's tours around in Brazil.
So now, do you practice against your husband at home? Is there a real competitive streak, like in the garden now? I'm bowling, you're batting. The loser washes up, that sort of thing.
It is. During the whole quarantine, we have an area in the garden here, which is about 23 yards. And the whole of the quarantine, he bowled and I would bat. So I practice at home a lot. That's how I got involved in Twitter.
Is that the stuff we see on? Is that the stuff you see on social media? We see you in a net. Is that in your garden?
That's my garage.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes. So we put a protection in the back with our wicket keeper, and we hit the neighbor's house sometimes. And there was one moment, one of the days, well, cricket's not known by everyone here. So one of the balls went outside, and there's a hill, it's a steep hill outside my house. So I had to run in helmet, pads, and everything else outside to get the ball. And as I ran, there was a guy stopped in the bus station, and he just looked at me like, what is that? What is that? Why is a person running in this strange helmet and strange protection in the street? So yeah, sometimes it happens here. But
I can imagine that man's gone home and gone, you'll never guess what I've just seen. But
crime, very strange in Brazil these days.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rob. Right, so now I'm going to bring Will in, actually. It's Will and Ian have got a couple of questions.
Look out for Tom as well, because he's on his first meeting, I think. Tom Compton, are you in the house? And you have said to me before, you are in the house, I think.
I think he is.
So look, Tom, think of a question, or you can have one later if you want.
I will also alert you, Mr. Simon Hughes, that Chris Broad did show up for about 12 seconds at 8:06.
Okay.
I think he basically tested he was like a sort of like he stalked our arena. Anyway, Will, the floor's yours.
Hello, Nort and Simon. I know you're not going to try and challenge me, Rob, but there we go. That's my Christmas
That's very good. That's very
my
good.
Christmassy jumper. I do have another question, but if you've got time, I've got one for Chris, but I'll save it for later.
Yeah, save it for later. Yeah.
Yeah, save it later. Sophie, I've got a question for you, which has kind of technically already been answered. But I'm going to ask you it. Obviously, what are the different challenges that you women will face when going over to Australia that the men will already have? The men will there be any different challenges basically in Australia now to where to now basically?
Yeah, definitely. I think the pitch and those kind of conditions is definitely the main thing. Kind of the bounce, getting used to that. How we want to play and how they're going to bowl and things.
Pace of bowlers. I mean, have they got quicker bowlers than Catherine Brunt, for instance?
We've got like Taylor Vamanik, who's kind of up and coming seamer, who does bowl pretty quickly, and Elise Perry, Megan Schutt, very good, skillful bowlers. And I think obviously it will be different facing them in those kind of conditions. I think the heat also plays a big factor. Obviously a lot hotter than in England, so it's something you just got to take into consideration.
Kookaburra ball? Are you playing with a Kookaburra instead of a Dukes as well? Is that being taken into account? Yeah. Yeah,
in the Test match, I think, because what I've ever known, or they've ever known, I think in the Test match, it's not too different for us. But obviously, the girls, the bowlers that bowl quick, would obviously rather Duke's ball. Get a bit more swing.
Sophie, also as well, just speaking on the question that Nort's asked earlier on about you needed 2 to win. So on my social media feed came up you smashing a ball over, I think it was over the covers against New Zealand this summer, and just the sheer delight on your face as you hit the ball to the boundary was just, I just thought it was amazing. So I just thought that just triggered my memory of seeing you tonight. So
yeah, good game, that one. Enjoyed that one.
Really close game as well. But there
it was.
Thank you very much, Will. Well,
Thank you.
Thank you. All I'm going to say, but I'm going to bring Wiggo in, so I'm just going to give him, I call him Wiggo, it's Ian, but I'm just going to say, Sophia, I reckon Elise Perry, her stats, she's on the downward slope now. She's there for the taking, frankly. She's there for the taking. Right, I'm bringing Ian in. Oh, definitely. Got to go in comedy. Right, Ian's here.
Hi, good evening, everybody.
Hi, Ian.
Sophia, question for you. Really enjoyed watching you at Chelmsford against the New Zealanders earlier in the summer. You were talking about Joe Root earlier, having been a role model for you. If you had sort of 5 minutes with him after this week, what piece of advice would you be giving to him?
What will I be giving? Probably not a lot. I don't know. It's hard, isn't it? I think it's obviously hard watching. It's easier to watch on and see what's going on, but I'm sure after I mean, seeing him get hit as well, wasn't it? Didn't look very, very good week for the boys, but you know, I've got every faith that they will bounce back, and I'm sure my advice would be nothing on what he can say, but for me, I don't know, be brave, get down the wicket to the spinners, give it a whack, get on the counter attack.
He was quite for Joe Root. He was quite angry, wasn't he? In those post-match interviews, it was a dark Joe Root, never seen before. I liked it. Yeah. I liked it. Yeah. It was all to do with Simon. Sorry, it's all to do with Simon Mann's grilling. I think Simon.
Yes,
he was like Jeremy Paxman, wasn't he? He was like Simon.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's obviously. I know, you know, the women are very reticent to make too much comment on the men because it's not a fair comparison, really. And I you know, your answers, Sophia, are very you know, diplomatic, but it hasn't happened before, has it? England haven't ever come back from 2-0 down, so it's pretty tall order. I suppose, Sophia, just one question about generally, if you've suffered defeats in the past in a game or in a tournament, what's your mentality when you come? If you've had how do you turn defeats round in your mind into more positive play?
Yeah, I do find that especially hard sometimes. You have a run of bad games with the bat because I think your mind can sometimes take over your actions without kind of knowing why. But I think especially kind of in the 100, I didn't start off as well, but for me it was just to kind of still be brave and keep playing the same way, even if I was getting out, and not worrying about getting out, I think, and not worrying about the kind of fear of that. And that's kind of what I try and take into things. I know that I play best when I'm still aggressive and busy and positive. So for me, it's trying just to keep those things, not take them away, and not be scared of getting out, really, and being a little bit kind of not strong in my shots and stuff like that. So yeah, I try to look at the positivity route is what I take.
And I mean, just one final question for you. You must be incredibly excited by the development of the women's game. If you think back to when you started playing, and you know there was no profile, how are you kind of received in your social groups now? And just give us a little perspective about, you know, where the women's game has gone in the last 2-3 years.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, when I first started playing growing up, you know, being a professional cricketer was kind of, you know, I suppose, you know, the other parents at school would be like to Mama, you can't make a career out of that, you know, it's not something you can kind of stick down the route of. And I think, you know, now Mum's saying, oh, well, you know, you've got a job and you're doing very well. And, you know, a lot of other people your age are kind of struggling in that respect. So I think to have that kind of opportunity to see cricket as a career for young girls growing up is a great place to be, because they can kind of think, oh, do you know what, I can do that when I'm old. I don't have to be X, Y, and Z as a job. I can be a professional cricketer. And I think that is something really special to know that we're kind of role models for those kind of things. And even hearing Roberta talking about Brazil and the cricket there, it's like, so the way you talk about it with such passion and how it's grown in Brazil, and you're going to these amazing ICC tournaments and playing against different countries and stuff is something really special. And I think, especially last year in England, the 100 and the domestic competitions for us have been massive, and playing at the Ageas Bowl for the Brave and having kind of a full Ageas home crowd, hearing the noise, hearing people shouting onto the pitch. It's stuff we haven't really experienced before, but it was amazing. And to get that atmosphere and to see that people are interested in women's cricket, I think has been amazing. And hopefully going into the Ashes, we've got a lot more supporters now, and people are interested to watch and want to see what happens, which will be great, I'm sure.
Yeah, we will. I mean, we'll be fingers crossed for you, obviously. Roberta, just a final thought for you. Where Sophia mentioned there about the 100. Are there prospects of Brazilian women's players getting into the 100, playing in franchise cricket around the world, and will that be the way that you progress the game there, or one of the ways?
Oh, I gotta do the
unmute her.
Thank you. Yes, I guess that is one further step of the pathway that we look for in high performance. I guess girls like Laura Cardoso, they're coming to the pathway. So if we still a very young age, but so strong, we will be looking to have players being contracted into stronger leagues, bigger leagues, and grow and be playing in the summer in England, in the summer in Australia, the summer somewhere else, and bringing that experience back to Brazil, and showing that you create that role model aspect as a Brazilian playing outside. I guess it is going to be the next step. I don't think we're far away from it. I think soon you're going to see a Brazilian playing in one of these franchises, and we can't wait for that to happen. And
how many women's teams have you got now?
We have 8 teams playing the National League that are around these cities. That is hardball cricket. We have many more teams playing in the softball leagues that come from most of them mixed with boys and girls. But we do believe in 2022 these numbers are going to grow quite quickly because of the new regions that we're creating cricket. We have another 2 cities close by, another 2 cities far a little bit further away that will have the cricket development happening. So I do believe that this league is going to get quite big very, very soon.
Amazing. Thank you anyway, and really good luck with it. So just tell us what is your next match for Brazil?
We will be playing, we have the fair break coming in Hong Kong in May, which I'll be playing. We have Uganda tournament happening in July, and then we have the South American Championship happening, and also Argentina tour in February. So it's going to be a busy year for us.
Wow. Okay. Well, that sounds really great. Well, very good luck with it.
Thank
you so much, both of you and Sophia, for joining us. Very good luck with the Ashes, Sophia, and we'll be obviously fingers crossed. And Roberta, same to you as well. Big round of applause for both of you for everything you've done for the women's game in your respective countries. Stay on, please stay on if you wish, because we're now going to try and focus a little bit, actually, for a bit of fun, on the Ashes of 1986-7 from 35 years ago or something. We're lucky to have a special guest. I told you about one special guest, Chris Broad, who's about to be on camera. And there's another one coming up in 10 minutes, which even Chris doesn't know about. It's not his son either. It's not Stuart. It's someone else. But anyway, Roberta and Sophia, thank you very much. Broady, are you?
He's not here yet. He's not here yet. I don't know where.
I saw his name on the list there. I thought perhaps he'd.
Oh no, I'll tell you a lie. He snuck in.
Nice snuck in, did he?
Nice one. I'm going to bring.
There he is.
He's
waving. Actually,
he's waving.
He's waving, and
Chris is
being asked to be made live. Sorry about that.
That
too
was
many
really...
people on this show, Noughts, to keep abreast of everyone.
Oh look, my first mistake of the evening.
No, it's
not bad. Not bad for this place.
It's all live. It's all live.
It's all live. It's all part of the fun. There you go.
Broady, are you there?
He's on mute. I asked him to unmute, and there you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, there you go. Fantastic.
Welcome to our modestly entitled World's best cricket club.
That's a shirt, Simon. That is a shirt.
It is a shirt. Well, it's a Christmas, it's a Christmas special. So
Is that a Christmas shirt? Is it?
It's not actually. The moths have eaten my Christmas jumpers. So this is the best I could do. It's just one I bought in Sri Lanka. We had a Brazilian lady on earlier, so it has a sort of an essence of the Rio Carnival about it as well. Unlike unlike you with your grey and brown,
It's actually dark green. I have, it's olive green. Thank you very much.
Of course. And you're nice to see you. We've got a special guest coming on in about 10 minutes. So the floor's with you. So the floor's yours for 10 or 15 minutes. So this is a club we've been running for over a year. Stuart's been on it actually. We've got members of about 150 members.
He was the second guest.
He was our second guest back in October last year.
Okay.
So you're presumably resting from match refereeing at the moment, are you?
Yes, not travelling anywhere this winter as with last winter. I think the COVID virus has had an influence over the amount of travel that we as match officials do. To be honest, I have to thank COVID for giving me 2 English summers looking after the England cricket team in this country. So it's a blessing in disguise, I suppose.
It must have been lovely actually to work with your home side in a way, even though there would have been a couple of tricky moments, father and son issues, I suppose.
Listen, I mean, I enjoyed it. I know some of the umpires, the local umpires, didn't particularly enjoy working with the England team. They felt that they needed to be whiter than white, if you can put it that way. But I mean, I think they did. They all did remarkably well. But for me, especially with Stuart in the team, it was great to be front and centre watching the England team play.
And you now are confined to watching it on telly, I suppose. Do you ever kind of watch on telly and go, I need to take, I would have taken action here, or I need to ring David Boone to tell him to do something? I mean, do you have any kind of actual involvement just in an informal way?
Not really. I mean, listen, I know the guys in Australia really well, and I will text them from time to time if we're having a bit of a rib at one another. But no, listen, they're getting on with the job that they do really well, and I wish them all the very best.
How are you looking at the series so far? I mean, we'll talk about the 86-7 series in a minute, but how do you see it so far? You must have been frustrated actually not to see Stuart play that first test. I thought that was a mad decision not to play him, even just the psychological hold he had over David Warner, not to pick him. But that sort of personal family things aside, how have you seen it?
I suppose in a word, it's disappointing. But I think those in the game will have looked at our top 6 batting wise. And seen that it wasn't the strongest. I think we were all hoping that potentially, same as 86, 87, you had Gower, Lamb, both of them in the middle order, but you had myself, Wilf Slack and Bill Athey at the top of the order. And really, playing in Australia is all about the top 2 or 3 getting through the new ball and setting it up for the glory boys in the middle order. And unfortunately, in these first 2 test matches, the top order haven't fired. 20s and 30s are fine, but they're not good enough to be able to set up a total that's going to put pressure on the Australians, and that's really where I think we've fallen down. The top 2 or 3 really haven't been able to build an innings suitable to take England to a potential winning position.
Can you cast your mind back to that series 86-7 and remember whether the emphasis on opening the batting was as important? Because I mean, obviously you had a massive impact on that series, but was it rammed home to you at the outset? And maybe you don't remember, but that first 10, 15 overs with the opening pair was kind of the pivot to the whole thing, or not?
Do you know? I mean, there wasn't the analytical insight into each and every individual or the way the team plays. You know, my role as an opening batsman was to see off the new ball. Very simple. That was my role, whether it was playing one-day cricket or championship cricket or test cricket. My role hadn't changed. You know, the roles for opening batsmen these days in the various formats is different. But that's, you know, I'm not using that as an excuse. We used to play a one-day game, as you well remember, Simon, one-day game in the middle of a championship game. So you were able to switch your mind from one format to the other relatively straightforwardly, relatively easily. So there should be no reason why opening batsmen should blame the systems that they're playing under now. If you're a good enough player to be able to play Test cricket, then you should be able to switch on and play Test cricket, play the longer format of the game. But you know, you look at the defences, in particular, the defences of the top 3 or 4, and really, you know, the defences are the things that's letting them down. They're playing at too many balls outside the off stump, balls that are bouncing over the stumps, and they're giving nicks to the keepers and the slips, and that's really where our downfall is in this particular series. They're playing at too many deliveries rather than letting the bowlers bowl themselves out.
What do you put that down to? Because, you know, these players were brought up in county cricket. Rory Burns, you know, 4,000 runs a season, average 41. You were brought up in county cricket, averaging, you know, whatever, 1,000 runs a season. So why is there this lack of ability now, do you think, compared to what you had?
I mean, that's a very unanswerable question at this stage, really. I think, you know, it's the desire of the individuals possibly that, do they want to play the longer format of the game, or do they want to play the shorter format of the game where they're paid more money for less effort? It's, you know, how many people want to be remembered as Test cricketers? I certainly do. Do the players today want to be renowned as good Test cricketers? I don't know.
I mean, I think they probably do. It feels like they just haven't necessarily got the grounding of, you know, my theory about this, and you can sort of, you know, boot this out of the water if you want, is that the way the county schedule is now, they're playing in April and September, largely 4-day cricket, and a bit in May and a bit in August, but not much. Therefore, the pitches are quite conducive to seam bowling medium pacers, and you don't know what balls to leave and what balls to play. So you're ending up playing at everything because the ball's not, you know, jagging around. Whereas if you're brought up in Queensland or indeed maybe Trent Bridge in the 1980s, or, you know, Bristol or whatever, you know, you can trust. Maybe you were able to trust the pitches. Certainly in the middle of summer, you were able to trust the pitches a bit more, and therefore kind of hone a game based around, you know, knowing where your off stump is and all that, which you sort of feel the modern player doesn't seem to be aware of, really.
But isn't that the beauty of Test cricket, that they play all around the world and therefore, you know, should know what they should and shouldn't be able to play at? And if they have never experienced Australian conditions, which I would doubt for most of them, because a lot of them have been playing club cricket over there, then certainly the coaching staff and the video analysts would have footage of what balls they can and can't leave alone, and you know, irrespective of the warm-up games or the lack of warm-up games that they've had you know, a few nets indoors and outdoors to hone their skills. Surely, are you trying to tell me a professional cricketer is not able to hone their skills in a net situation? I know it's different from a middle, but they should really be able to, you know, deal with preparing for a test match in nets, irrespective of not having much outdoor practice.
Mm. You had the advantage, I suppose, of having those pre-match games, pre-test games in 86, 7. You played all round Australia, didn't you? 3 or 4
we did.
matches.
Yeah.
I guess that would have got you in the groove. In
Did
a
you-
sense, I
did
mean,
you-
although you didn't play that well, did you, in some of those games?
Did you not read Martin Johnson's?
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, obviously.
Couldn't bat, couldn't bowl, couldn't field. We really had a very poor build-up to the first Test match. But
even you, though, I mean, even you did you?
Well, yes. I mean, I think I only got 150.
Okay.
But having said that, we played at Perth, we played at Adelaide, we played in Brisbane. So we did travel around for a month prior to the first Test match. But it was all for me. It was all about Ian Botham standing up prior to the first Test match at our pre-match dinner and saying, this is where it starts. And it tends to focus the mind, and it certainly focused my mind. And even though I didn't get many runs in the first innings, I did get a few in the second innings.
Can I just say, Chris, I have, for the sake of research, I have written down your scores of every match here. So we can confirm with the audience, you scored 8 in your first innings.
There you go.
And you scored 35 in your second.
Not out, can I just say?
Well, fair enough. Okay, not out.
Well, that's quite important, I think, because that probably got me into the second Test match. That not out being.
And then you filled your boots.
Well, fortunately, yes, the pitches suited me very nicely from there on in, and I also the fact that the Australians had actually lost quite a number of their bowlers to the Rebel Tour the previous year, so there were a lot of new bowlers playing and selection. Jeff Lawson didn't play in that first Test match at Brisbane, an experienced international bowler, and someone who was quite a useful performer at that level. So we had the rub of the green.
Yes,
that's Norts. This is Norts, by the way. Sorry, I didn't introduce you earlier. Who's been our constant technical expert and producer all the time, and he's standing in for Simon Mann today as well. Listen, Broady, we've got a surprise for you here. Because I said we had a special guest, and I hope he's going to be able to connect with us. It's your former opening partner on that tour, Mr. Bill Athey, who's coming under the pseudonym of Janet on the Zoom call today, because that's his wife. And if we can click Janet's camera, or Janet, you can click your camera, or Bill, you can click the camera, we might actually be able to see you and hear you. He's there. He's hiding in the background. Whether Janet can make it work or not. Norts, can you?
Yeah, I'm going to force them on screen like that, and then I'm going to. Oh, there you go. There's some noise. That is now.
They're making noise.
There is noise.
Yeah.
Someone is there, and they can.
Bill, if you speak, maybe.
Yeah.
Then you there?
I am here.
You've just got to click your camera. I think. To maybe
start video.
Well said, Broady. That'll do.
It's his first. There. Oh no! It's his first attempt at a Zoom call.
Good God, you haven't changed a bit, Athey. What's the matter with you?
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at you.
God-fearing, tax-paying, clean-living young man.
Yeah, well.
Unlike on the tour, actually.
Forget the young bit.
Yeah.
Now, remember, but great to see you, Bill. Thank you for connecting. Thanks to Janet for helping you as well there. We had a trial run a bit earlier. I know you were out coaching. By the way, we are recording this, and we're going to use a little bit of it in the podcast, looking back at the 86-7 series at some point. So just so you know. Have you met up much, you two, kind of, over the years?
He forced me into retirement, Bill, because he asked me to play against his school 11 in an Ashes thing. Yeah, Dulwich, in an Ashes thing in 2005. And I think we shared an opening stand of about 60, of which Bill got 50, most of them run. And I was so knackered and stiff and sore at the end of that particular innings that I said that was going to be my last game of cricket ever, and it certainly was.
So you finished him off, Bill?
And he was still as fit then as he was in 86, 87. And looking at him now, he's still as fit now as he was in 2005.
You're the original butcher's dog, Bill, actually, aren't you?
Yes.
I'll try, Yoz. Always have done, actually. A lot of that is obviously with my football background as well. So I was always keen on fitness. It can only help.
How was it batting with Broady then? You know, when you came from that sort of fitness ethic background, and you know, singles and stuff, and you know, sort of quickness off the mark was a big thing for you. What was it like batting with Broady in that Ashes series?
Well, it was great batting with him. Obviously, he had an absolutely fantastic series. You know, played out of his skin really, and set it up for everybody else. To be perfectly honest, you know, Broady was the mainstay of the batting. You know, obviously with his 300s, but yeah, he laid the foundations, and I obviously helped him lay those foundations for the other.
Did you have to kind of G him up sometimes, wake him up at the non-striker's end for a quick single?
We didn't do quick singles. We didn't do.
I was fit. I was fit then. I was quite fit then.
Okay, I believe you. You didn't like kind of rapid singles, and you're not like him. He's a greyhound between the wickets.
Listen, it takes all sorts to make a world, okay, and to make a team. You know, we have our strengths and our weaknesses. I could get from one end to the other, just not necessarily as quickly as Bill.
But it worked, Broady. It worked.
It did.
It worked.
It did work.
Give us some, well, it worked. So give us some highlights of, you know, your partnerships during that series. I'm gonna find the scorecard. But, you know, pick on some highlights of your partnerships.
220 opening stand in Perth. That was a major highlight.
Yeah, that was the biggest stand we put on.
Yeah.
Which set the game up, to be perfectly honest.
And how did you keep each other going during that?
I don't recall we needed to be honest. I think it was, we were just enjoying batting on what was a belter of a pitch on an upturned saucer of an outfield, and the left-hand, right-hand combination seemed to work quite well, really, and that the Australians never got on top of us.
There you are. There's the scorecard.
Cool.
Chris Broad 162, Bill Athey 96. So you put on 223, and that must have been a fantastic start.
I think, Yoz, if Broady had been quicker between the wickets, that 96 would have been 100 and something.
Yeah, that's the kind of banter I like. So I hope you've told him ever since that he owes you a few, basically.
Yeah, that's an interesting scorecard, actually, looking at it after all this time.
Poor old Lammy.
Lammy, Gat, and Both all failing, basically, but obviously with 300s and a 90 odd, that set us up nicely. 592 for 8.
Yeah. Wasn't it? It was in Perth, or it was near Perth. It was in Western Australia, where there was a famous warm-up game where I think some of you, probably not you two, but some of the other players had been out with the America's Cup crew and got rather the worse for wear. And the following day in the match against whoever it was, the WA Bush Rangers or something, Beefy went out to bat without a bat. Do you recall that?
I can't recall it, but I can certainly remember the America's Cup crew being around down at Fremantle for the obviously the America's Cup. White Crusader, I believe the boat was. So we did have a couple of nights out with people from that particular group.
And Broady, what was it like batting with Bill? Actually, I mean, because you were used to Tim Robinson, I suppose, at that time, weren't you? Your opening partner at Nottinghamshire. So yeah. How was it batting with Bill instead?
Listen, Bill was a supreme technician. You know, had a very good technique to be able to deal with top order. Not sure, and Bill put me right here, but I'm not sure he'd opened the batting very often. He was more of a number 3, but because we really hadn't fired on the pre-test match games, it was a question of, do we go with Wilf, sadly no longer with us, Wilf Slack, or do we go left-hand, right-hand combination with me, who I think I'd scored 150 in the warm-up games. And listen, he was a joy to be with, because, you know, he was always someone who rotated the strike, and as a left-hand, right-hand combination, you know, we were, that was the ideal. And of course, he was a magnificent fielder. So took some amazing catches at that close mid wicket or short cover area. Saved a number of runs in that area as well. So it was a delight to be with, and great to have in the team.
There's the third test, partnership. So you put on 112 at Adelaide. Billy got 55 there. Chris 116, Gat 100 as well. So another good score. And I suppose, I mean, Bill, you hadn't, I guess you, as Broady said, had you opened the batting that much before? And this was a question I asked him earlier. Were you conscious of how important it was in Australia in particular to see off that new ball?
Well, I'd been batting 3 at Gloucestershire. So when I'm guessing I was picked on the 86-87 tour as a utility batsman. I don't think the selectors or GAT had it in mind I would be in the starting 11. But as Broady has alluded to, we started the tour off so badly or so poorly. It actually looked as though Martin Johnson's prediction or assumption that we couldn't bat, couldn't bowl, couldn't field was going to come true. So I ended up having, not forced to open, but being picked to open in the first test, and getting 76 on the first day set it up for the rest of the series. So opening the batting is very, very difficult thing to do, particularly obviously you're batting when the ball is at its newest. The fielding side and the bowlers are at their freshest. That's not very often taken into consideration, really. They've got most energy, the fielding side then. But, you know, with Broady leading the way more often than not, you know, we laid foundations for the other boys to come in and score well.
Did you have an agreement about, you know, who would take her first ball and
Broady always took first ball.
Broady always took first. And why was that?
Because
he really.
Basically. Was it? Broady, was it? You just wanted to, didn't you?
I don't know. Did we actually have a conversation about that? I'm not
sure we did.
You just marched up to one end and that was it, or something. You assumed control, did you, Broady?
Yes, Broady assumed control. Yeah.
Oh dear, if only that were true.
And I mean, when were you conscious that it was clicking as a partnership? And did you know each other before? Did you know each other at Gloucester?
No.
No, yeah, we'd swapped. I'd gone
left as I arrived at Gloucester.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
So we never actually played together at Gloucester. Listen, you know, I think the first month of that particular tour wasn't good on the field, but it was quite good off the field. We all got to know one another fairly well off the field socially, and there was just a feeling. I think, you know, once both of them had stood up and said what he'd said, there was just a feeling that we were going to do okay. Whatever team we picked, we were going to do okay. And when you look at the side on paper with the experience that there was in the middle order, if all of a sudden the experienced middle order were saying, you blokes have now got to start playing, it was like, whoa, okay, you know, brilliant. And, you know, with Bill going out and get 70 odd, both of them get 100, making the Australians follow on, it was just, we were in ascendance right from the word go. And I, you know, we never, personally, I didn't feel as though we were ever going to let that lead slip.
Simon, I will say we've got quite a lot of questions from.
Yeah, okay. Let's go to the
audience.
questions. I'm just looking down at the fourth test, and actually, Broady got 112, Bill got 21. First innings, second innings, you didn't have to bat basically. So anyway, that was the end of the sort of massive partnerships for that bit of the tour. Yeah, let's. So Bill, we've got lots of members in this club here who have come on, and they're absolutely gagging to ask questions. So I'll shut up for a bit.
Right.
Tom, yeah. So Tom Compton, I know we haven't always been the first to ask you one, so make sure, Tom, you put your hand up.
Yeah, Tom's got his hand up. I will say, Simon, Sophie and Roberta are still. So I'm just going to say, Sophia, she's still here. Obviously, she's off to the Ashes in Jan. So Sophia, you're going to do that speech on that first day, right? You're going to be the both of them. It starts here. That's what you've got to say, right? It starts here. I'll let Tom in to do the first question, but I have another question that actually is on the chat, and it's to Chris, and it's the question we all want to know. Do you, Chris, ever talk to Stuart about his referrals?
Sadly not, no. There's an awful lot of things I would like to talk to Stuart about, but as any father will know, their sons tend not listen to what the fathers say once they get to maybe 10, 11, 12 years old. So I'm afraid he doesn't listen to anything I say these days.
Even though you are a match referee and come with a certain amount of gravitas and experience.
Well, to be honest, he did ask me, because apparently in the first test match, the 11 were fined 100% of their match fee for being 6 overs short of the required over rate. Oh. So he did ask me for some tips on how they could improve their over rate for the second test match. And I gave him some, and he then sent me a message at the end of the test match saying, "Thanks, Dad. We got 100% of our match fee in this test match." So listen.
Wow, that's brilliant.
Maybe he does listen to me, but
you don't have to tell us exactly what you said to him, but what are the ways of speeding up and getting the overs in then?
Well, to be honest, it's about being ready every time there is a restart. So whether that's the start of play, the drinks break, the fall of a wicket, all the teams being ready to bowl the first ball, and not have captains and bowlers messing around with fields and fielding positions in the middle of overs, wasting time. So, I mean, that's basically all I said to him. Just be ready whenever the umpires are going to call play, and make sure that you get your slips and your keepers running around cajoling everyone just to get into positions and get ready for play.
Do you remember we used to have a little hole in the ground at sort of backward square leg for helmets and shin pads and stuff? They don't have that anymore. I always thought that saved time, because there was an over in this last test actually where Stuart was about to bowl, and then he realised he needed a short leg. So they had to go and get the pads and the helmet from off the field, and the short leg had to get ready and all that. So there are things like that we don't do anymore.
Yeah, and they don't get an allowance for that, because that's their problem. What some teams do these days is actually send their short leg off at the end of one over, get padded up so that he can come back on at the appropriate time to go straight into that fielding position. That doesn't take up any time, but that's
a good idea.
That takes a bit of
forethought,
and sometimes captains and bowlers don't have that forethought to move things forward.
Right, I'm going to bring Tom on. I've got to get Tom to unmute though, because I've been asked. You got to hit your.
Yeah,
you have unmuted. Okay, that's cool. Right,
hi Tom.
Hi, everyone. My question's for Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Tom.
It's come up on my Twitter feed quite a bit recently. Your sort of infamous stump breaking moment in that series, and now as a match referee, I mean, a couple of things. What was your punishment for doing that? I'm not aware of what that was. And then is there kind of a set punishment that you would dish out if somebody was to do it quite so drastically again? And also, I guess you said that you're in touch with the other match referees. Is that known as doing a Chris Broad if somebody does that between yourselves?
I don't quite understand the third part of your question, but I mean, the first part was it wasn't actually in that 86-87 series. That was
right.
87-88 bicentennial.
Oh, okay, right.
Listen, I'm a very passionate cricketer. I got out to Steve Waugh, for goodness sake. I mean, no one gets out to Steve Waugh. So I was obviously very pissed off with getting out to him.
Right.
And listen, what happened. I actually got fined £500 for doing that in the test match, which, you know, that
seems quite reasonable.
Seems quite reasonable. I think it would probably be a little bit more than that these days. But of course, no one has, or not to my knowledge, no one has done that sort of thing. So it's very difficult to quantify how much someone will be charged. But I mean, whoever had done that sort of thing would be charged and would lose a certain percentage of their match fee. Yeah.
There was another incident, Tom, in Pakistan.
Oi! You're on my side.
When he refused to walk when given out, refused to walk, and Graham Gucci, was on the Pakistan tour, basically had to assist him off the field. But some of the umpiring decisions on that tour were inexplicable, to say the least.
I think I've seen some of those as well.
Is that the famous gas? Is that the gassing tour?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You started it, Brody. No, we won't go there. Don't worry. Right. So good. Yeah. Interesting. Anyway, and good memory there, Bill. Right. Thanks, Tom, for that little bit of controversy.
Honestly, there was one thing somewhere. Don't anybody ask Chris about smashing his stumps. Nobody do that. Nobody do that, right? And
Tom did get the memo.
That's why we don't invite him on screen. Right, I'm bringing in Omar next.
I think I'm correct in saying, actually, there, ladies and gents, Brody had already got 138. Was that right, Brody?
132 actually, Bill, but
132, and then he smacked his stumps. Yeah. Imagine if he was out for naught.
It just shows how much he cared, and you can also see why Stuart is like he is as well. I mean, Stuart bloody refers it when all three stumps are lying flat on the ground. So
any chance you could mute Bill Athey during this conversation?
He's only just worked out how to work Zoom, so he's reveling in it at the moment, being able to speak to the world. He's actually a hermit who's only seen the light of day today for the first time.
Bless him.
So, Chris, you scored in total. You scored 400s down under.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, that's impressive, isn't it?
He did. And listen, we should mention Noughts. We should mention to get him back on our side again. We should mention we are offering an NFT of you. Brody, which is, if you don't know what an NFT is, it's a non-fungible token, which is a digital piece of art. We've commissioned an artist friend of Noughts to do this. I'll show you it. This is it's actually a 3D image, so it actually goes round. And I've chosen you as one of the 100 Ashes heroes. You're number 77, ranked 77 in Ashes heroes of all time. And this
I'll take that.
You what?
I'll take that.
You want to take it?
No, I'll take being number 77.
Oh, I say you say take number 77. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fantastic cricketers there in the list. I'll send you the whole list at some point. But anyway, this is ownable. We're doing a raffle for it actually, so anyway, that's just to show you what it is. An NFT is a piece of digital art which you can own and then share or whatever later on. So that's the Chris Broad NFT. Stuart is much higher up the list, I'm sorry to tell you, but it's good to have. You are the only father and son on the list, so that's a pretty impressive performance.
Pretty impressive.
Right. Anyway, that's my little aside. Go on. Who's next?
Omar's here. Omar's on
Sorry,
screen.
Omar.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah, we're good.
Just to mention the incident that you were talking about in Pakistan. Was that the Shakurana Faisalabad incident that you were talking about with Gat?
That was in the second test match at Faisalabad.
Yeah, well, my family are actually from Faisalabad, and every time I tell someone that we're from Faisalabad, that incident gets brought up. So it's never been forgotten.
No, well, it was an infamous incident, wasn't it?
Never been forgotten. Anyway, my question is to you, Chris, actually. Thanks for doing this. And it's really about, I wondered if you could give us a sense of what your sort of itinerary is like on a day-to-day, in a day-to-day test match when you're actually refereeing. Obviously, we see you at the toss. But what does your kind of day-to-day tasks involve in terms of what you do during the day and how you kind of liaise with the players and then the umpires at lunch or tea time? What's kind of involved in that, the kind of backroom stuff?
So I am an administrator. So I would basically, if all things go according to plan, assess the conditions prior to the test match starting of hotel, ground, food, all that sort of stuff, and then write reports on all of that at the end, as well as the umpires. But if there are any issues, you know, I liaise closely with the team managers of both teams, so they would have my phone number and I would have their phone number if there was anything that needed to be discussed. I would also be dealing with player indiscipline if there was any. Umpires would necessarily charge the player, but then I would sit in judgment over that particular player. I have no involvement in the game per se, aside from logging every appeal or every incident that occurs during the game, so that the bosses back in Dubai are aware of what has gone on during the game and can actually look at the footage specifically if there is anything they need to look at. So you don't necessarily have to watch every ball. I enjoy watching every ball, but my role is very much an administration one, just to keep the bosses back in Dubai abreast of everything that's going on.
Okay, thanks. Do you actually liaise with any of the TV production companies or anything like that if there's a decision that's been debated or anything like that? Or
listen, we would have close contact with TV as well. You know, they would let us know if there was any issues with technology or you know, if there are any question marks. At the end of a day's play, umpire would want to see a particular dismissal, then I would liaise with the producer and try and organise for that to be set up. So yes, I mean, I would have a link to anything that is involved in that particular day's play.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Just to ask, I think somebody asked here, have you ever fined Stuart? And Paul Morley says you fined him 15% in 2020 in a test against Pakistan. And how did you actually have to break the news to him about that? Did he come and actually see you?
Gently.
Gently.
And listen, I mean, normally there is a sanction that we would give the player who has crossed the line. Stuart didn't want any of that sanction. He wanted to draw it out even further. In fact, I think it took nearly 3 days for him to sign the piece of paper and get it done and dusted, because he wanted to check with his lawyers and you know, all that sort of stuff as well. So anyway, you know, he was the only person in both summers, English summers, that I managed to find or was asked to find, because the umpires charged him. No other player was charged. He was the only one. So yeah, disappointing really. And
what was that for? What was that for exactly?
He was heard telling a batsman to leave the field promptly.
Okay.
Brody, you must be very, very proud of him. but he is a chip off the old block. He's a chip off the old block, but you
you know, Brody, of course, was a quick bowler. You were a quick. Well, I say quick. You were certainly a bowler, weren't you? Do you think
16,
really you were a batsman with a fast bowler's mentality?
16 first-class wickets. That's all I'm prepared to say.
But you did have a kind of fiery streak. Maybe you should have been a bowler then.
I was just very passionate about the job that I was doing. I love cricket, and you know, it's
fair enough.
It's the way it is, really.
Yeah. Oh, we have Paul here. Paul, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much. You talked a bit. Oh, I've got a cat all over me. So, you talked earlier, Chris, about the techniques, I think, and opening batsmen playing. And as I recall, both of you, Bill, as well, you both had pretty solid and uncomplicated techniques, which as opening batsmen in Australia would be perfect. And these days, there's so many moving parts all over the place of all our batsmen, and I can't recall as a coach when that started happening. Do you know when and why that came in? Why people started just everything happened? You know,
actually, Bill, you'd be a good one to answer that, because you have been a coach as well, haven't you? And you've worked a lot with school kids and kids growing up. So, Bill, why don't you take that one first?
Well, interesting points. You've got to have a solid foundation. You've got to have a solid base to develop the game further beyond that. And I look at somebody like Rory Burns at the moment, and I think, I can't believe that he has been like that. I didn't know him as a youngster. I can't believe his technique was like that when he first joined Surrey. Because if it had been, some coach at Surrey would have said, hey, Rory, I think we've got to change that. If you're going to go further on the game, I think we've got to change that. So dare I suggest that somewhere along the line, there's been a little bit of possibly lazy coaching, and let Rory and another Dom Sibley develop these glitches in their techniques. They've only led to more problems. But there's
But they've made runs at county level with
they
that method.
did, yeah. But to make runs at test level, maybe they need to just change it a little bit. But as you say, I think you were talking before I came on about the Australians. They do, I believe, they do the basics far, far better than we do. And they also do them more consistently and for longer periods.
And can you put your finger on why that is, do you think?
Not really, yes.
Okay, right.
I just, to a degree, I think we lack patience. I really do think we lack patience. Obviously, a 5-day test match, batters, you've got to be looking to bat for hour upon hour upon hour and grind the opposition into the dirt if you possibly can. But I think we lack a little patience at times.
Rory?
Yeah, listen, I mean, I don't know when the top 3 or 4, their techniques, aside from Rooty, the techniques are a bit strange. But someone like Ollie Pope has a very good technique, and yet he keeps getting himself out. That's frustrating, because in many ways I liken him to Ian Bell. Now, Ian Bell had what turned out to be quite a good record at the end of his test match, but there were still question marks about whether he could score important runs. And, maybe the same question marks are being asked about Ollie Pope at this stage. And yet he's got quite a good technique, or what I would regard as being quite a good technique. I think technique is important, but what is more important is stickability, is that patience that Bill's talking about, to have confidence in your ability, to know the areas that you can score and those that you can't score, and play to your strengths. And I'm not sure that, certainly Burns, I'm not sure where Burns' strengths are, and he's not making the bowlers bowl to those strengths at this stage. And that's really what he's got to try and do.
I believe that obviously a good technique, I think, is pretty necessary, but the greatest difference between players of that level being very good test players or excellent test players is temperament. All of those boys can play. Playing at that level, they're all good cricketers. But it's temperament is the difference between being a reasonable test player and a very, very good test player. Handling pressure, dealing with pressure, and England being 2-0 down in the series now, those boys are under the cosh. Everywhere they go in Australia, be it a restaurant, in a taxi, on a plane, on a harbour cruise, they will be getting ribbed by the Australian public.
And you either stand up to it.
Let you know when they're on top.
And you either stand up to it or you wilt away into the distance. And
this is the temperament thing, bro.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
What are they doing? What are they doing going on harbour cruises? They should be in the nets hour after hour.
What was it like for you two then? You know, you won the first test, then there were 2 draws, then obviously you won in Melbourne. So you'd sealed the series. I mean, what was it like for you going around Australia as successful English team or English players? What was that like?
Brilliant.
Wonderful. They couldn't lay a glove on us, yours.
They couldn't what?
Lay a glove on us.
No, I mean, it was, you know, the media, initially we had Ian Botham in the team, which was great because he took all the pressure the media potentially could have put up on us. But certainly when we won the first test match, they weren't looking for stories. They were just looking for good stories, and we provided them with good stories by, you know, scoring runs and taking wickets. So, you know, and John Edrich, who I know sadly passed away this year, he said to me prior to going out on that Australian tour, he said, the Australian spectators will be tough on you initially, but actually if you can score runs and if bowlers can take wickets, they appreciate good cricket and good cricketers. And certainly that's what I found as the tour went on. I don't know whether Bill found the same, but you were walking the streets and people would, hello mate, good on you, you know, all this sort of stuff type thing. So there was an appreciation of good sporting ability. And, you know, it worked for us and on that particular tour.
Bill, what were your memories of, you know, once you'd started to find a success, what was it like for you?
Well, it was great, yes. I mean, we had great success on the field, and it's quite interesting. Leading up to the first test in Brisbane, we'd had a bad time. We hadn't prepared well, we hadn't bowled, fielded, batted well. But from the first day of that first test, for the rest of the tour, the whole tour, including the one-day competitions we were in, we won every game that we needed to win. We won every big game from then on, apart from losing the last test, which obviously didn't have any bearing on the result of the Ashes series. But from the day one of the first test, we won every big day's cricket that we needed to win. And we ended up winning, obviously, the Ashes, the Perth Challenge, and the Benson Hedges. So moving around Australia when we did, during that winter, our winter there, summer of course, was just great. It was just great. We were the kings. You know, it was fantastic fun. We had great fun on the field, and as I'm sure Brodie will remember, we had great fun off it as well.
I believe, Simon, you were in the action, weren't you, at some point?
Well, I was. They won't remember this, but I was in the dressing. I was actually a sort of honorary 12th man for the Sydney Test because I was out there, and I basically was Wilf Slack's net bowler for most of it, and probably bowled at you two as well at some point. And then was treated as a lackey, knocking around the dressing room for the rest of the time. Yeah, it was an amazing tour, wasn't it? It was fantastic. Let's get to the 10 more minutes if you guys are all right. Couple more questions, I think.
Okay, I'm going to bring on Brian Holland actually.
Okay, yeah.
He's not on camera at the minute, but I'm going to ask him to put his camera on, and I'm going to bring him on the screen, and I'm going to ask him to unmute. I'll take him off screen again. Hello,
Brian.
Go on, Brian. Do it for us, Brian.
No, not working.
Well, I'm going to remove. Possibly.
Where's Simon Mann? Can he not get up at?
I can ring him. I'll ring him now and see if he can join us for a minute.
Well, I would have thought I'm a bit sad about the Simon Mann thing because 2 Gloucester legends are here, aren't they? 2 Gloucester. He'd love that.
Yeah, I mean it's pathetic.
I'll ring him quickly and tell him to get his arse out of bed. All right.
I only came on because I wanted to abuse him.
Hello, I'm ringing him, all right. So carry on talking.
No,
Brian, you're next.
Brian's here now. I've got Brian. Hello, Brian.
Hello, Nuts. Thank you. Yeah, I've got a question for Bill actually. Bill, as an ex-Yorkshireman, an ex-Yorkshire player, how do you feel about everything that's been going on there this year, all the controversy and all the problems Yorkshire been having, and sort of follow on? How do you think, is Darren Goff the right man, do you think, to go in there and to get them back on track?
Well, it's been disastrous time for many individuals at Yorkshire. Incredible, and obviously that definitely needs to be sorted out one way or another. And it's already has been started off. The process has started with new chairman, chief executive, Lord Patel, and bringing Goffey in. Goffey, a Yorkshire hero, epitomises what Yorkshire cricket's all about. So I think hopefully he'll start off well. I think he's only got a year initially, hasn't he? That whilst they look for a new head coach, but it's a crying shame that it's all happened. It should never have happened, what has happened. But hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll be able to get out of it and emerge from it a better, more inclusive cricket club. Because Yorkshire County cricket has a great reputation. It's been tarnished very much so this last year or so, 18 months. And there's still a long way for them to go. But fingers crossed, we'll come out of it. Hopefully a better club for all people involved in Yorkshire cricket.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well said.
Thank you, Brian. There's still more. I'm going to bring. We got time for a couple more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to bring our favourite son from the North American continent. I'm going to bring in Keith.
Thanks, Norris. Happy holidays to everyone.
Happy holidays.
So, Chris, what did the MDs inform you when Stuart was born? I believe it was 12 weeks premature, about what the potential height may be and things of that nature. And is it possible that Stuart is the tallest ever for someone who was born 12 weeks premature?
Listen, I have no idea on the stats as far as premature babies are concerned, but certainly, when he was born, he was 2 pounds 2 ounces, which for those of us in the UK, that's like a large bag of sugar. So, not terribly heavy. But he spent a good month, 6 weeks in an incubator being fed on a tube and monitored every time, but then came away, came back with us after 6 weeks, and gradually just got bigger and bigger. And the thing about premature babies is the lungs are the last to develop. So he did have asthma issues, and still to this day has some breathing difficulties. But I mean, you look at him now at 6'6", strong as an ox, bowling as quickly as he does. He's matured into an exceptional individual.
When did he grow taller than you? What age was he taller than you?
Probably when he was about 17, 18. It was just after he left school, or just as he was leaving school, he had a growth spurt of about 18 inches. He went to Australia and came back from Australia, and he was probably taller than me then. But listen, I could still take him on the golf course at that time.
Did you face him much actually when he was growing up?
I faced him twice. Yes. Right. In Oakham School versus the Masters School. First one I got runs. Second one I got a dodgy LBW decision against him. And
was it from a referral by any chance?
Sadly, no referrals in those days, but clearly slipping down the leg side. Did
you refuse to leave the field, Brody?
No. I went happily with a smiling face, but slightly sarcastic smile.
So, Chris, I mean, privately, and if this is too personal, fair enough. once you got past the danger area with him, in the hospital or when he got home, in the back of your mind, what were you thinking the tallest he could be at that time?
Listen, as far as I was concerned, he was a perfectly normal baby when he came home, and he got fed and in the way that all babies got fed and continued to grow normally. I had no thought about him being the size that he is today, or the strength that he is today. It's all that he was going to be a cricketer. He was just going to be, a son of mine, and he turned out to be an excellent son.
I reckon they fed him baby bio in the hospital through those tubes.
Honestly, we didn't stand him in a grow bag, and that is for sure. But
I think about the time when he was a baby, you thought one day I'm going to find this guy some of his match fee. And he's going to, hey, Paul's here. So I'm rattling through because I'm conscious of time. Paul.
Evening all. Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas. And happy birthdays to Yozza for yesterday, I think. I think no one's mentioned it yet. It was mine on Sunday, Yoz, so we're not far apart. But it's one of those, we get to that age where you don't want to do it, isn't it? No doubt, Chris, when Stuart got you out for that LBW, he probably ran down the pitch with his arm in the air, didn't even look back, I would imagine. But
true.
Yeah, I get two things. One is a very anecdotal story actually about Chris when he was young, because I grew up in Nottingham watching you when I was a teenager, and I'll come on to that in a second. But first bit is a question for both you and Bill actually, and something you've mentioned tonight a couple of times, in that the early part of the 86-7 tour didn't go so well. But by the time you got to the test matches, you were, I guess, sufficiently warmed up, and you kind of, you got that sort of rustiness out of your system. How much sympathy do you have with the modern day test player that doesn't have that lead into the first test match? These guys have gone in completely cold, and whereas you guys had that lead up. So that would be the first part of my question, and I'll come back to the anecdotal story a little bit later on.
Very difficult for them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Basically going into a test match, well, without any preparation, as far as I can work it out, with the bad weather they had in Brisbane before it. Very, very difficult. Now, you can practice all you want in the nets and this, that, and the other, but there is no substitute for actually batting in the middle in a first-class game in preparation for a test match. So it is the start of the tour has been disastrous in terms of preparation, but I don't believe it was fantastic for the Australians either, but they've hit the ground running a little faster than we've had.
Yeah.
So both teams pretty much in the same situation with the build-ups.
I guess home conditions obviously make it give the Australians a bit of an advantage in that sense, they don't they, for sure.
They've managed it far better than we have.
Yeah.
It might have helped had we picked our best team.
True. True.
I did notice, Brody, sorry, gents, earlier on about people saying we played two spinners throughout that 86-87 tour.
Yeah.
And they bowled a lot of overs as well.
They could control the game, Phil Edmonds and John Embry, for long periods of time, which gave obviously our three seamers a chance to rest, recuperate a little bit. But I can't believe that, and you fellas, I'm sure, may have a different opinion, but I can't believe we can go into a test match, a 5-day game, without a frontline spinner. I can't see the sense in it.
I mean, I suppose we're going off the subject a bit, but the trouble is, Embry and Edmonds were high class. They were top class. They worked together.
True.
We don't have spinners of that class anymore, do we? That's the problem.
That is the problem.
Yeah.
I guess the general point I was trying to make was that, obviously there's a lot of criticism coming in from all quarters for this England team for the way they've done in the first two matches. And it is quite easy to forget, how cold they've gone in. But I mean, that's not me defending them by any stretch. I think you're right, Chris, about picking the right team. But I guess it's just the fact that you guys have both mentioned how that particular tour took a bit of while to warm up, and obviously these guys have just not had the opportunity. So I just thought it was worth mentioning that. But coming on to the anecdotal story when Chris was young, so I used to go to Trent Bridge to watch Sunday League games when I was, in my early teens. I think there was a game in '92 against Gloucestershire. So your last season, I think, Chris, for Notts, before you went to Gloucester. And I don't know if you recall, but in the corner of the ground, underneath the scoreboard by the tall sort of council block, used to be the nets, the AstroTurf nets were in that corner. And it was back in the days where the kids could sort of play in the nets whilst the game was going on. And me and friends used to go there. And this particular game, there was a couple of young lads came over, little blonde-haired kid and his mate Stuart and Phil Robinson, and your boy Stuart came over. I think Stuart was probably about 6 or 7, and I was about 12 or 13. And anyway, they sort of joined in with us. And tennis ball that we were playing with, somebody hit it onto the ground, and Courtney Walsh was fielding for Gloucestershire at fine leg. And obviously, there's a lot been made in the last 12 months of Stuart going past Courtney Walsh, and obviously when you moved to Gloucestershire, how Courtney helped Stuart and what have you. But it's probably the first time that they would have met one another in a way or interacted, but probably neither of them know it. So Courtney nicked the tennis ball, put it in his pocket and fielded for the whole over, and every ball was pretending he was going to throw it back to us, and then kind of put it in his pocket and smiled and what have you. And in the end he threw it back to us and we carried on playing. But so it's probably something that neither of them remember or knew about, but that was their first interaction on a cricket field when Stuart was 6 and Courtney was fielding at fine leg. So it'd be a nice message to pass on to him. A nice little anecdotal story that was really, I kind of talked to my friends about, once played with Stuart Broad in the nets when he was 6 and taught him all he knew and all that sort of stuff. But clearly,
did he strike you?
Clearly he had a lot more talent than me.
Did he strike you on the pad, Paul, in an outrageous ball pitching well outside leg and went up for it and was adamant that it was out?
He may well have done. Yeah.
Did Walsh? Did Courtney have an influence on Stuart actually? Broady?
Certainly when I went to play at Gloucester, and he would be down on the boundary's edge playing with his mates or with his sister. Courtney was a great one with the kids. He would often come over and stand there and bowl the ball, and yeah, absolutely. And I think Stuart does remember those times down at Gloucester when Courtney took time out to come and play with the kids. Yeah, definitely.
Lovely story. Thanks, Paul. That's a really good anecdote. Right, last question, I think, perhaps. Then we should let you go, you guys, because you've had an hour already, actually.
Yeah.
So we got one more.
Yeah, it's the return of Will, as promised. Will said he'd be back, and look, like a boomerang, he's back.
Unfortunately, Yozzy, you can't get enough of me. You get 2 questions in one night. Chris, hello, how are you?
I'm well, Will, thank you.
Good. It's been great hearing you about what your life's been like, with growing up with Stuart and all that. But I just wanted to know, what was Stuart like as a young kid? So most young kids are kind of like, oh, mum, dad, every day, in the back garden, can you throw me some balls? I was wondering, what he was like as a young kid, and did he like cricket growing up from a young age, or was he ever inspired to play, other sports like football or rugby or whatever? Or was cricket his main passion?
Exactly that. He was sports mad. He used to enjoy ice hockey. He had rollerblades as well, and he would go out into the back garden and he would play on his rollerblades with an ice hockey stick and flick that ball around. He tried to play field hockey, but didn't enjoy it until he became a goalkeeper, where he put a whole load of padding on and suddenly became Superman and could charge out, kick people and not get hurt himself. He didn't like rugby because there was none of that padding, so he didn't enjoy rugby, but certainly cricket during the summer and hockey during the as a schoolboy, he loved it. To this day, he loves all sports, whether it be football, whether it be rugby, cricket, tennis, all this. He loves it.
Which I'm not too pleased about, but anyway, there we go.
Thank you, Will.
Thanks, Will. That's brilliant. Thanks for your unstinting support of this club. So, right, listen, we'll let you guys go. Just give us one little line, each of you, Bill and Broady. What do England do now? What would your advice be to, say, the opening pair that are going out at the MCG?
And also to the both of you, who will be that opening pair?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay.
Well, firstly, I don't see England changing the opening pair, whether you'd like them to or not. I don't see them changing them. Having said that, I think Zach Crawley, Dan Lawrence, and Bairstow all deserve an opportunity to play because the first six have not done the jobs that they have been taken out there to do. But I think they'll probably go in with maybe the same top six. Maybe Ollie Pope might be under some threat. Listen, they've just got to get in the Australians' faces. They've got to be more aggressive. They've got to be, and I don't mean that in an attacking sense, go out and play shots all around the ground, but in their defence, just be more attacking in their defence.
Assertive, maybe.
Assertive, yes, good word. And listen, we don't have a spinner. Joe Root is our only spinner, but pick your best bowlers. Pick the ones who are going to keep the Australians from scoring loads of runs. But mainly, we've got to get 350, 400 runs in the first innings to put some pressure on the Australians, and then let's see where we go from there.
Bill?
Yeah, well, very much the same. Just dig in, show some, show some guts, show some fight. We've just got to dig in, bat sessions. The longer you bat, the more luck you have. They can all play. All the England boys can play. They just need to occupy the crease, and the longer you bat, it tends to get easier and easier and easier. So hopefully, just bat time and things will begin. The worm will turn, hopefully.
What's Christmas got in store for the Athey household?
Very little yours, really. Just a couple of people coming down. We live in rural Herefordshire. It's nice and quiet, just the way we like it. So it'll be a quiet Christmas.
Okay. You've got a few family portraits behind you. Have you got any kind of cricket mementos sort of near you?
Other parts of the house.
You hide them away, do you? Squirrel them away?
Yeah, I tend not to have them on display.
Okay.
Keep them.
And what about you, Broady? What are you doing for Christmas? But FaceTime Stuart?
Possibly. We're going to Norfolk, actually. We're going to, we've got 2 dogs, so we're going to take the dogs to the beaches of Norfolk, and they'll be running around there, and no doubt we'll find some food and some wine to drink as well. But yeah, generally a quiet Christmas, say hello to the kids, various parts of the world, and just enjoy whatever comes forth, to be honest.
And presumably you'll be ready to watch. You'll be up at Christmas Day evening to watch the MCG match, will you?
I don't have BT Sport, Simon, so I don't watch it live. So I watch it on the BBC, the highlights package, if we've done it.
Right. Okay, fair enough.
What about doing a little duty for England? If Simon, you can organise with Chris and Bill, if you can get them Rory Burns and Hasiba Mead's phone numbers, they could have a little chat, couldn't they, in the run-up to Boxing Day?
I'm sure they wouldn't want it.
Yeah, I think that's probably right, actually. I think you'd be wise. And I think you've got a picture over your right shoulder there, have you? Is that something from a cricket match on the side wall there?
Oh, that was from West Indies. Some years ago. Can you see a little bit?
Yeah. Okay.
Just a warm-up thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
West Indies.
Well, listen, thank you very much for your time, and I hope you didn't mind me sort of suddenly reintroducing you two together. It's been great having you both on.
Good fun, yeah. Thank you very much.
Not at all. It's really good to see you both, and have a good Christmas. Stay safe, as they say. And
thank you.
Fingers crossed they listen to some of your points there, England, and turn it round, I suppose.
Good. Thanks. Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yeah. Cheers, Bill.
Right. Cheers. So keep in touch. Keep in touch, both of you, to each other and me.
Here, Simon, hit your applause.
So my applause is here.
Hey.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, you haven't been able to raise your back to that for a while, have you? But there's a bit of extra applause for you. So thank you very much, Bill Athey, Chris Broad, the stars of the 1986-87 Ashes series. Fantastic. Thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
So thank you, Sophia, as well, for staying on. So hope you.
And Roberta, Roberta's still in.
And Roberta, if you're still there. We just got a couple of other little things to finish with. So the first thing is, I'm not actually sure that Pushkar's on, is he?
Yeah, Pushkar's here.
Pushkar's here. Okay.
But I've got to bring Wiggo on first.
No, you've got to bring Wiggo on. Okay. And we also have to, we're going to just quickly announce the quiz winner, aren't we? We'll do the raffle in a sec. First, it's the quiz winner by default, because we haven't had one this week, is...
you better establish the quiz being the players being asked.
Players quiz that we have every week. How well do you know yourself? It was a bit of a complicated one this week, so we didn't have one. So we've had to elect Mr. Liam Livingston as the winner of our autumn quiz show. You're going to put up a little graphic.
No, I'm not going to. No,
you're going to do it.
I've got too many things. But I'll put it up. I'll put it up on the club. I'll put it on.
Okay, put it up on the club. So Liam Livingston is the winner. We'll start a new quiz after Christmas. Round of applause for Liam Livingston for being very about himself.
Thing I like about Liam Livingston is, of course, he's a big twit. So if you put a little bit, he'll tweet that because he'll love it, because it's all about Liam, isn't it? So well done, Liam.
Yeah, well done,
Liam. Ian, the floor's yours.
Thank you, Noughts, and Simon. Good evening. I promised Noughts that I would make these remarks no longer than a Pope innings, so I'll keep it brief. The world's best cricket club has lived up to its name tonight. Keith from the States, Roberta in Brazil with Alistair, Pushkar as well. And I feel something of a fraud when I was elected Member of the Year last year after only 3 months. And I've got to hold the title for 12 months. So I'm delighted to leave the club in such good shape after 12 months. A massive thank you to Simon and to Simon Mann for all that you've done. And whoever follows as Member of the Year, this club is very special. We should protect it and nurture it and support those that look after us each week. So Simon, thank you. Whoever is the next member, very good luck, and happy Christmas, everybody.
Thank you
very much, Ian.
He's good at that, isn't he, old Ian? He should do. Well, I'll leave you on screen a minute, Ian, actually, if that's all right.
That was shorter than a Pope innings, actually.
That wasn't, but not by much, though. Not by much.
Excellent. Thank you, Ian. Anyway, it's been a great pleasure and great to meet you all, and thank you for all your support as well.
Now, Simon, you better do. So our next point of order is to announce Member of the Year, Club Person of the Year, call it what you will. You do know who it is, don't you? I presume, yes. I'm hoping we've had this discussion. Yeah, you do know who it is.
I do know who it is, but, but you announce it anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, that's so obviously we got a club. We have 100+ members. 100. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. Some people come, some people go. But I feel like in the course of because I suppose the thing is, Simon, when you first set this club up, it was going to be a short-term club for lockdown 1 back in October when we first crawled on. So we didn't know how long it was. But I would also say, which is part of the sort of thinking about the Club Person of the Year, etc., is that we've managed to go like another year and all that sort of stuff's gone on, and people have come, people have go. But there is a community within it, and we see that on the WhatsApp group of people who contribute, tons and tons of people who contribute, both on the WhatsApp, both on here. So, and also I think the thing that really resonates with me about it is the fact that, in the summer when the test matches were on, there were people actually in the 100, people coming together in the club who'd never met each other before. They actually came together physically thanks to meeting on this club, which I think is a really wonderful thing to go from digital to real. So that's the thing. So there's lots of people, I will say, they always say something, everyone's a winner at the world's best cricket club, but there can only be one winner of the Club Member of the Year. And there's been some brilliant people, brilliant contributions. We had a little debate about it, who it should be. But and I'm not going to do it in a sort of Simon Cowell, keep the envelope guessing as long as possible. We thought, purely because of his contributions, you're going to know statistically, and the very fact that, to be honest, he has become Simon Mann's go-to statistician now, which is quite remarkable. So the Club Person of the Year, and I'm going to bring them on screen is indeed Pushkar. So Pushkar, a ripple of applause from everybody there. I will unmute a second. I've got to find you first. You are Pushkar. Club Person of the Year, and I'm bringing you in. So
Congratulations, Pushkar. And thank you very, very much for all the amazing stats and great questions that you've asked over the year. And it's kept us all fascinated, the material you've kept picking out, and the fact that you stayed up till in the middle of the night virtually every week as well, and given us a bit of a flavour of Bangalore as well. So thank you very much, Pushkar, for everything you've done. Your prize may not be very Indian centric, but I'm going to send you a copy of this, which is my book about the Ashes, the cricket's greatest rivalry, which I'll sign as well and date. So you at least have a little bit of memento of your achievements, what you've done for us this year, 2021, Pushkar. So thank you very, very much.
I'll tell you what we'll do. I'll tell you what we'll do, Pushkar. We're going to create for you. You're going to have to sort yourself out, though. We're going to create for you your very own World's Best Cricket Club Member of the Year NFT. In fact, I'll do it for you, Wiggo, too. So you've got last year's. Pushkar's got
good
that.
idea.
No doubt they will soar in value because that's what it's all about. But you don't have to because you want to keep it forever. So there you go. So I will sort that out over Christmas. I'll be in touch. So, thank you, Ian, for being Club Person of the Year 2020. Pushkar, you're 20. You will now hold that. You will now hold that title for 12 months, and we'll release it in December 2022. It's been a big value night, hasn't it, Simon? Congratulations. Yeah. So
thank you very much.
So one thing I am going to do, 1 second, is I am going to allow everyone to unmute themselves now.
And we've got to do the raffle, haven't we?
We have got. That's what I'm bringing on. So yes, well done, Pushkar. Brilliant.
Thank you.
I'm going to raise my hands in celebration.
Yeah, I am too. Another round of applause,
Pushkar. For Simon's Wi-Fi lasting the whole evening.
Yeah, I know. It's a remarkable turn of events.
We should give Pushkar a little bit of an extra. We should give him this one. He's got it to make sure he realises.
Oh, by the way, Pushkar, I've got to ask the question. How do you feel now that you're like regularly mentioned now on BBC TMS? It's not like once it happened. It's now happened several times.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, because initially when I created my whole database, so I would like to show you my small library here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think whether you can see my library here.
Oh yeah, we can.
Oh, yeah. Crikey.
So this is, I have mostly digitalized everything and the database. So now I have built basically a database software where I can crunch every match-based statistics. So initially when I started this thing, so I don't find many people who were interested in this in cricket stats. But I saw the WB link on the Simon Hughes Facebook page. Then from there I joined, and it was great interacting with people and also learning many aspects other than the stats, the understanding of the game, and it was a good experience.
Right. Well, fantastic. Well done. And amazing library you got there. Well, hopefully you can add this to it when it eventually arrives. So make sure you send us your address on the WhatsApp group so I can post that out to you, and you'll get that sometime in the new year. But once again, and actually, by the way, look out in the Times this week, because I'm going to be using your stats about LBWs and bowls over the decades, and obviously credit you as well. So you'll be in the Times this week as well.
It's outrageous.
You might have to charge me. You might have to charge me. That's true. Well, I'll send you another book, and perhaps you can sell it. Anyway, there you are.
Yeah,
thanks very much. Anyway,
I was waiting to do that gag yet again, Simon. That for all the people who weren't club person, they get 2 copies of the book. That's 2 weeks on the bounce. I could do that 2 weeks on the bounce. Right. So there's only one more thing we got to do. I'm still so excited that Sophia and I think Roberta are still in. So hopefully they clean. I could bring on screen. I'm going to look at Sophie. I can see it. Do you want to come back on screen, Sophie? Because you're like a star, right? Do you want to come back on screen a second? Is that acceptable?
Delighted.
Yeah,
I've done it. I've done it. I don't know that Roberta's. Oh, no, I think she is. But she's not. We might as well. We'll bring the whole thing full circle. So now all we've got to do, right? In fact, I will change the way I do this, right? Sophia and Roberta, I need your microphones on because you're going to do the draw for this final task, right? Because I know what the stats are. I've got it already. Yeah, no pressure, but it's quite simple. So basically, we have this Ashes Heroes NFT collection, which you may or may not have heard about already. Simon very seamlessly brought it into it. So the club members basically, to get their hands on an NFT, the crypto, and all the people, if you win tonight and when you win tonight, we'll sort you out if there's any technological issues about, etc., right?
There's the Chris Broad one.
We will give that white glove service to you so that you can have it in your crypto wallet, and then you've got one of these Ashes. So I must thank all of you who bought a £2 ticket. Remember, a proportion of it will go to the Professional Cricketers Trust. So what I've done, Simon, if you just take that down off screen a second, what I've done, we had 20 tickets were bought. I won't say how many were bought by who, but what I've done is that I used the number. I was going to do it with like raffle tickets, right? I was going to do it with raffle tickets. So they're all here, to ready to pick. But because we have got Sophia and Roberta on here, so I'm going to ask Roberta to unmute on a second. Because they're on here, I'm going to get them to call the number. Now, what I did with the raffle tickets, with the numbers, I decided, because it was Ashes Heroes, to do the 20 tickets from number 99, obviously Don Bradman 99.94, up to 118, right? So there are three. I've got to do quite a few things. It's quite technologically challenging, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So basically, here's the NFT collection. So I'm going to bring that on screen, right? So here's the NFTs, right? So there's three of them to be won. And so the first one that's going to be up for grabs is, hopefully my technology is working, is this one. So it's Matthew Hoggard, right? Hopefully just let the internet, the blockchain catch up 1 second. And boom, there we go. Look, there's Matthew Hoggard NFT. There's a little bio. Do you know what, Sophia? We're going to do the women's Ashes Heroes if all goes well, and it's your chance to be on it. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, Sophia, for the sake of this first one, I have then also written on this piece of paper I have in front of me everybody who's in the draw. So, who's got which ticket, which I randomly assigned across the 20 tickets. So, I will announce that. So, can you, Sophia, pick? I need a pen as well. I need my pen. Because I'm going to keep it. No, it's fine. It's fine. I can do it in my head. I'm smart. So
I'm feeling exhausted just watching you here.
Sophia, can you pick a number between 99 and 118?
103.
Okay, well, I can tell. The good news is we have a winner, right? Which we should do really. But that winner is, ladies and gentlemen, Rob Whitehouse. Hey, right. So Rob, you are the winner. Oh, well, I've got it recorded, so I can look it back. Rob, you have won that Matthew Hoggard NFT. So amazing, right? So
right, great choice of number, Sophia. Great choice.
Good choice, strong choice. Right. So now
I'm
going to go back on the screen because I said it's a complicated procedure, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it technologically. I'm going to go back to the collection. I'm going to go along to the next one that we're going to give away. See, the thing about blockchain takes a little bit of time, but we're nearly there. Go back to
confirm that this is no longer than an Ollie Pope innings, this raffle. Well done.
Yeah, fair enough. In fact, you know,
it's a Dom Sibley waiting to hit a boundary.
Oh, you've got to create a sense of drama.
Yeah. Anyway, by the way, I like the gallery you've created. You can have a look at these in a gallery now.
You can. You could look at them in an NFT gallery.
Very good.
So I've got to find.
Does that include the number one?
No,
not yet.
It doesn't.
Not yet. It will do. It will.
That's a secret at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's not Don Bradman, by the way. Just in case you thought it was.
Anyway, I'd rather look at me. I can't be asked looking around. But the next NFT to be won is number 91, and it's Basil D'Oliveira, right? So I will ask you, Roberta, please could you pick a number between 99 and 118, but obviously not 103, because that's already gone. So any number, 99, 118.
Okay, let's go for 111.
Nelson, gone for Nelson. So I'm now standing on one leg. The winner of the Basil D'Oliveira NFT is Tim Knight. So well done, Tim. Well done, Tim. Yeah. Brilliant. Nice
down the village hall, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bottle of whiskey for Tim Knight.
It's going to be a meat.
And then it'll be a toilet roll holder for the next winner.
It'll be a rack of lamb. So our last bit of business tonight, I'm going to hand it over to Sophia, who's going to bring the Ashes home, but who's going to bring home the Chris Broad number 77 NFT, right? So I'm going to just think in my head what I've got to do here. So Sophia, last call from you. number between 99 and 118, but not 103 or 111. There it is in all its glory. Pick that number.
Let's go for 116.
I knew you'd. Absolutely.
Wow, 116. We have a winner. We have a winner. And that winner of the Chris Broad NFT is none other than Richard Shelley.
Hey, well done, Richard.
Hey, well, thank you very much. That'll go with his 114 wisdoms.
So I've got it all written down. I will basically get in touch. I'll help you out on the crypto front. So there you are. The 3 NFTs are gone. Oh, our work is done, kind of, Simon and Sophia and Roberta. What? That's been a marathon. World's best cricket club.
It has been a marathon. And well, just to say, Sophia and Roberta, thank you very much for staying on and giving us all your thoughts. Guys and girls, can we just have a big round of applause for Noughts, please? Because he's been, without question, the fundamental core of this. So, Noughts, you are absolutely, unmistakably, impossibly essential to this club. And thank you so much for everything you've done. Jacob, love the hat. Very impressive. Down the chimney for you, I hope. And just to everybody, thank you very much again for your support of the club, and we'll obviously keep going. I'm going to get Owen Morgan up early in the new year. We'll be probably one of the first, but this is our last one of the year, and just really to say once again, thank you for your contribution and support and total interest in the game we all love, and have a great Christmas however you manage to, and obviously stay safe, everybody. But thank you so much.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
And have a great Christmas, and keep in touch, and we'll announce the first guest of the new year very shortly.